Good evening, 2021. Welcome to Easy 8 Online Painting Club. My name is Danny. It says so right here. I hope that you've had a fantastic Christmas because that was the last time I've seen you. And I hope that New Year was everything that you wanted it to be as well. It's obviously been a very different New Year to what everyone's probably used to. Certainly was on my part. There was a lot of being indoors and a lot of UK laws being changed at the last minute and affecting everybody. We've got viewers online already, regular viewers here. David Lester, Adrian Dean. Dave says, evening all, Happy New Year. And Adrian says, Happy New Year to you all. And right back at you guys. Yeah, I'm absolutely stoked to be back online doing what I really enjoy. I'm a little bit rushed today because I went out for a New Year walk and it was really cold, so I wrapped up warm. I came back, I had some dinner. It was a chilly, put the heating on. And I'm really, really warm in this room, which is normally really, really cold. So some exciting things that have happened since the last time I've seen you. I'm fairly certain that I have managed to solve my audio problems. Finally. So in previous episodes, I've had problems with basically high gain and reverb, just echoing sounds and sounds that sound like they're kind of going through twice, especially with Kyle, the co-host, and the music and things in the background. There's Kyle now. Happy New Year's, people. He's waiting just on the side. That way, you see him just a second. But I think what I've done is I spent a good week, maybe a little bit longer now, learning more because I'm so new to all of this. It's frightening the amount of stuff that you've got to learn. But I think that I've sorted out my audios. I've even had time to play around with the quality settings for the microphone, so my voice compared to previous videos should sound a little bit more professional, and I've noise suppression to kind of reduce mouse clickings and things like that we don't need to hear. But if there are any problems, and I've done a few audio tests on like private YouTube channels, YouTube like programs to see what the sound quality is like, but I don't know what it's really like for you guys. So if there are problems, let me know in the live chat straight away and I will see what I can do to affect it as we go. But hopefully audio problems are behind us. I'm going to bring in Kyle this side. Here he is. Say hi, Kyle. It's nice to see you again, man. Did you have a good time? Did you have a good Christmas and a good New Year?
It's fantastic just to be with loved ones and just sort of take a step back and have a nice easy Christmas and New Year. So yeah, it's been nice and relaxing. So it's been
a different one, isn't it? It's been a bit of a weird one. We're probably going to see in the live chat in just a second. We're probably going to see I can't hear Kyle's voice because as you came on, I missed the button to activate your voice. People, don't be alarmed. I was just shocking shot this time. But yeah, your voice is coming through. I can see the bars moving. Audio problems are now behind us. Starting again from now. Cool.
From now.
Starting from now. Anyway, brilliant. Carl's on board. It's yeah. Hey, 1st of January 2021. With first show running, it's nice to have that first day spot straight back in and planning forwards and just be happy. Today I got to go for a walk with some people who I haven't seen for a long time. We did it social distancing, but went out on the beach and it was just really nice. And I think I feel personally quite refreshed to just have a little bit of sense of, just to be around people, a bit of longing, and it's quite incredible how much you can get taken away from that. You don't realise how much that means to you. So yeah, I'm stoked, and I'm here now in the studio. I've got all my paints and everything ready to go. But I've got some exciting news for all of our viewers and for you, Kyle, who you only know a little bit about this. So since Christmas, I've set up an Instagram account. I'm really happy about Instagram because it is just basically it's dropping its weight already. It's absolutely fantastic. I've just put up a few photographs and I put up a little New Year's Happy New Year message last night just before it turned midnight, and we've already got 22 followers on there, which is more than we have YouTube subscribers. So if you're watching the show and you're new to it, please subscribe, share it amongst your friends, and tell the line Painting Club. It is a digital version of what we used to be able to go and do, to hang out, talk about the hobbies that we're into, paintings and techniques. And if you're really good, cool, brilliant, teach us, share your information and your knowledge and all the skills that you've got. And if you're new, come along and pick up new ideas. Kyle and myself, we're not pros by any stretch in broadcasting or painting or even gaming, but we just love what we do, and we're here to learn. And so it's a community resource. It's a hub for you. So if you are new or you have forgotten what our format is, we're going to run for about 2 hours live, so warts and all, you get to see it all. Halfway we'll have a little break so you can have a little stretch or go to the bathroom, top up your brew or whatever you need, and then we'll do some shout outs and community spotlight. So if you've got a company or you've got a business or you've got your own YouTube channel, anything like that, and you want it to kind of be shared, but you don't want to pay advertising fees or anything like that, then this is the place for you. So let us know about it, and I'm going to tell you about a few new people who've reached out through Instagram about halfway through the show today, so just after 8 o'clock, I think. So Instagram's been really good. I've also got a Twitter account. I don't know how Twitter's really going to work for us at the moment because we don't have a massive following. We've only got like just under 60 followers on Facebook, and we've got, say, like the 22 followers on Instagram. There's a lot of activity on both on Facebook and Instagram, but I don't know how it's really going to play into Twitter. But it's there, it's ready to go, and I will bring up the information for those on the screen now. Boop, there you go. So you can see those addresses. So Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. When I made the Instagram and Twitter, there was a caps difference in there that I didn't really pay attention to, so I don't know if that's going to be a copy paste issue for anyone who wants to do addresses simply. But Instagram's just a great way to go on there and see photos that I upload, and they might be photos that you send in, but they're often just kind of photos that I'm doing here on the workbench. If you want to show off your stuff and you want to get feedback, criticism, or just a bit of praise and go, I did this model, it's the first one I did this year, then the Facebook page is definitely for you. That is probably our most active platform at the moment. Head on over there, and if you go to the community tab, then you can just post up all your photos up there, and it's been really active lately because we've got a couple of guys in there, David and Adrian, who are our regular active viewers. They've been putting up pictures of all their stuff lately. I don't know if you've been over there recently, Carl, but if you head on over there, Adrian has put up a couple of blood angels. They're corn berserkers. You should definitely head on over. They've both got some really cool like painting ideas and some units going up there as well, and even a Zulu throwback. So yeah, go and have a little look. So that's Facebook, that's Instagram and Twitter. Instagram's going really well. Head on over and see what you think. Drop in a subscribe, like, follow, share, do all that stuff. Make us grow because it gets better for you and for me and Kyle too. Let me get rid of this text. If you want it back up again, I'll put it in the description at the end of the show. There's a few things that aren't in the description in the show today, and I promise I'll spend the time after the show to kind of show to write those things up in there. Anyway, let's talk about what Santa brought you. Kyle, for Christmas, did Santa put anything in your stocking that you're going to be painting over the next few shows?
No, unfortunately,
nothing in
instead I decided to treat myself. So unfortunately, I was hoping they were going to be here ready for tonight. I've got a unit of assault intercessors come in, which are just like the most perfect troop choice you could ask for Blood Angels. So they're on their way. Hopefully, I'll have them ready to be painted next week during the show.
It's a shame they didn't arrive, but hey, at least you got the time now between this show and next week to kind of get them all built up and undercoated and things, and ready to go. Are those the ones that you're going to do? Because you play Blood Angels, for anyone who doesn't remember or is new to the channel. Are you going to do those in Death Company, or are you going to do those Straight Lace Red?
No, so they're going to be the non-Death Company.
Cool.
I'm not a big fan of the Primaris Death Company yet, just because they can't take jump packs, which is just crazy.
The whole point of the Death Company, right, is to get them in there. Yeah.
As quick as I know there's other options. I could drop pod them or put them in something, but that's just not how I like to roll. So I'm going to run these guys just as straight up Blood Angels. And I think
we got awesome. Someone new in the comments there, Darren Van Emenes. Happy New Year, guys. Happy New Year to you too, man. Let us know what you're painting this evening. Kyle's always the one to say that first, but I got there today. If you're painting something along today, or making a model, or you could be painting on canvas for all I care, let us know what you're doing and share with everyone what steps you're taking to kind of get to the end result. So what are you going to be doing tonight, Kyle, if not those assault intercessors?
I'm going to have a little look at my Sanguinary Guard again. I've come to a bit of a stopping point with them because I'm not quite sure where to go, but it kind of ties in quite nicely to this evening because we're going to be looking at painting gold.
Yes.
And I'm trying to keep everything quite a grim dark style, so I want to take away and not have really shiny Sanguinary Guard. So yeah, I'm going to kind of hold off doing anything.
Bring it down a little bit.
Until we talked about some different gold techniques.
Okay, cool. So if anyone out there who's watching now live has got experience with painting with gold or any metallics really, and you have a certain fascination with the grim, dark side of this game, drop it in the comments. Let us know, because it's something that I'm not very confident with metallics. My metallics always look, I don't know how to describe it, cheap, I suppose, cheap and chalky. And if me and my dad is the reason I got into making models and playing games and things like that, because he has been doing it for years as a business, and he's always said to me, and I totally agree, that the color silver specifically, or especially the color silver, is a notorious crawler. You can't, I can't, and maybe it's just because I'm 90% fingers and thumbs than anything else, as I'm painting away and it's somewhere on the model that I didn't put it, and it's up my hand and it's on my sleeves and it's up the wall. I can't control it very well, and even when I am on my A game, I still can't quite get those metallics to look super cool. And I know that it's a mixture of lots of different techniques and other paints, so like washes and stains and things like that, to kind of really pick them out, and then a choice of highlights that are the correct colors. So for gold, you can use like a mixture of gold and silver as a highlight, and then going up to the really bright silvers as well. But it's just an experience that I don't have an awful lot of. I do, however, just been through just before we went live, I've got like a selection of metallics here, Carl, that I'm going to go through in a minute, because I found an old Terminator model that I'm fairly certain came from a White Dwarf magazine years ago, and it was in a drawer, and I was like, ideal, this is exactly what I need to do. So we'll have a look in a minute at the selection of metals that I got here. You get to choose which one you want. I'll spray them up with the airbrush, and then when he's dry, we'll have a look at playing around with some different techniques of staining and see if we can get him to look grim dark, because I've got a couple of tricks in the bag that I haven't used yet, and I'll be really interested to see how they go, because that's what I like about the show. It's live, we make mistakes and we learn, and you get to see it whether you're watching it back on playback or not. So that's that. So you're looking at playing, hopefully, Sanguinary Guard. I have got my little Biovore. I haven't done anything since last week's show for two reasons. First one, Christmas and New Year. That's that kind of year when we finally get to, go and see some loved ones on the one day here in the UK. But it's just a bit of a busy time of year, isn't it? But the other one is, if you remember during the show last week, Kyle, I hit a bit of a wall with it. It's because I was doing the stains with the Nuln Oil, which is the Citadel black wash, and it just wasn't playing ball. And I'm looking at it now, and all I need to do is highlight the grey and make it look a bit better and tone that black down. But it was just because it was going so well up to that point, I hit that wall, and that's the sort of, I think every painter gets that wall, and that's what can sometimes knock you back a bit from your painting, and it stops you, and then you're like, I don't want to do it because I'm not going to be that good. Don't worry about the wall. Move on. That's my advice for today. So I'm going to be doing that. I'm also going to be obviously helping Kyle choose some metallics for that one, and I've got a few other bits and pieces that I can pick up as we go. But let's see what happens. I'm going to take you over to the workbench because we've been sat here long enough. Some comments going into the chat there. We've got Keslin. Hi Keslin. I find metallic paint just as easy as normal paint. Well, you know where the door is. Darren says, I do use separate brushes and thinners for gold and silver. Okay, so not just different brushes for metallics and non-metallics, but for different types of metallics as well. That's interesting. Okay. And Adrian says, I painted up a squad of Custodies. I follow GW's paint guide for layering. Yeah, fair enough. Maybe for me, maybe it's just the practice that I need there. And if that's what I need to do, then I need to suck it up, Princess, don't I? Right. Let me just get my screen sorted out so I can see what I'm doing on there. Cool. So let's have a look, Kyle, at these colors that I've got here. Now I know that we've got the webcam issue. You are seeing it on the same time delay as everybody else on the YouTube there. You don't have a direct link to me, so take your time. I'm just going to lay them out from side by side here, and we're going to have a little look at them all, and we'll just talk about them. And I've got some silvers. I've got the silvers out as well because why not? It's interesting to see what's in this paint selection. This is the Vallejo Game Air range, so I like them because they are silky smooth to put through the airbrush and on a normal brush. So from left to right, I've got Glorious Gold, I'll move this on here because that's a bronze. I've got glorious gold, polished gold. I've got bright bronze and brassy brass. Great names there. So glorious gold, polished gold, bright bronze, brassy brass. Now you're talking about maybe toning it down from the golds and going into the more brassier colours anyway. I do think that the bright bronze is quite, looking at it in the bottle, it needs a good mix. That's quite nice actually. I might even be tempted to go for that one tonight, but we'll have a little look. Brassy brass just looks like a darker version of it, but it needs a bit of a shake. And then my silvers, I've got silver, which is more like the Stormhost silver, I think it's called, the brighter silver in the Citadel range, chainmail silver, and then gunmetal. And I think that they are sort of analog equivalents, if you like, of again the Citadel range. They are pretty much analogs of most game color ranges, etc. So I don't know which one interests you the most here, Kyle.
Yeah, maybe that like lighter brass.
The lighter brass one.
Colour.
So
yeah.
I've got bright bronze. If I hold it up to the webcam here, it's a bit bright under all the lights. In about 10 seconds, you'll probably see that colour. And what I'll do is I'll hold it up beside the golds here. The golds are in my right hand, and this one over here in the left is the bronzy colour. And I'll just stick it to the airbrush and see what happens, right?
Because one of the problems I've slowed on my sanguinary gold. Yeah, that looks like a good colour.
Yeah,
nice. Because then you can obviously highlight with a brighter, go up a step.
Yeah, cool.
Just to pick out, and it might look quite nice. Yeah, one of the problems I've come across is I used a technique on my suppressors that I really liked to give that grim dark style, and it was a lot of dry brushing. Because you've got those nice big open like shoulder pauldrons and the leg panels and things like that. You get this really nice effect, and I was really happy with it. But going to the Sanguinary Guard, they've got so much detail on, I don't think that technique's going to work. I think there's too much detail that's going to get picked out in the highlight, and you're not going to get that effect that I'm after. So these might be, like we said last time, models that I do more edge highlighting and practice my edge highlighting on rather than going to dry brushing. So yeah, we'll see. See how this comes out.
I'm needing water today. My mouth is dry. That chili I had was homemade. You might see that my face colour has gone quite red. I've also been playing with saturations and hues on the video, so I might look a bit more redder than I normally would do. But yeah, man, I am feeling warm today. So I've got here Bright Bronze by Vallejo Game Air. I'm going to stick it through the airbrush, and if I just bring up to the webcam here, this is this wonderful little Terminator model here. I think I was probably playing around with different colours, and I don't even know what I was doing with it. It looks awful. It's got a very, very thin layer of like navy blue, very dark navy blue, with what looks like some sort of Nuln Oil hazardously thrown all over the model there. It's thin enough for me to go over with another layer. And it's dark, I reckon, probably good for the metallic colour here. But it doesn't really matter about quality. I'll throw it. It doesn't really matter about quality because it's just a test, right? What I'm going to do, Kyle, I've also got here, if you remember right back to episode 2 perhaps, I spoke about, maybe even episode 3, it's about oils for washes or stains and things like that. So what I've got here now on the workbench is I've got a black and an umber. It is umber, isn't it? Yeah, burnt umber, which is a brilliant colour. It's a wonderful colour to work with. And the idea is that you just slap this stuff on the model quite heavily where you want it to go, and then you get a sponge or a cloth or something, I think preferably a sponge, and then you literally wipe it off. But obviously the harder you press it, the more you will remove, the less pressure is on that sponge or whatever. You'll leave more in the recesses and things, and then you just leave it. And apparently that is really, I've seen some pros doing it on YouTube, and I'm here to have a go. It looks really grimy, so it goes into that grim dark sort of aesthetic, and then you can build up from there. So that's what I'm going to try tonight. So I thought that on one side of the miniature we'll try maybe a black, and on the other side we'll try the burnt umber, and we'll go for it. And I'll just leave those there, let those Winsor and Newtons. I picked those up for like £1 each at a local art shop. So they're not expensive at all, but they're obviously, because they're oil based, you do need a thinner to clean them. So we've got some more comments going in. Kyle saying thank you, brilliant.
Me,
yeah, pretty much what I'm thinking. Luke, hi Luke, nice to see you again. I almost forgot it was Friday. So did Kyle. I had to give him a call at 6 o'clock. What are you doing? He's like, oh no. But hey, whatever, man. It's a club. It's a club. It's not like cable TV, man. Right, so I'm gonna need some airbrush thinner. I wiped the desk earlier on with my arm to just kind of clear everything out of the way, and I need to go through it all. What have I got here? I've got airbrush thinner, and I need some flow regulator. That is super glue. That is not what I want. There it is, flow improver. Wicked. So I'll put a couple of drops of Brassy Brass. It's a really nice colour actually, Kyle. I think you're going to like this one.
It makes me laugh. Makes me laugh every time you say it though.
Brassy Brass. Do you want some Brassy Brass? I don't know why I went London there. Apologies to anyone who comes from London who doesn't think that that's a London accent. You're quite right. That is. I come from Devon, where we have probably one of the most horrendous accents in the world. Feel free to take the mic.
That's a really good point from Adrian, just saying brown wash works good on gold rather than
I had
black.
a feeling it would. I had a feeling.
Yeah, it's just that softer colour. I think just works really well with.
There's no reason why you can't combine the two. So do a layer of black and then build up brown as well. So you get like a combination of the two. Right, I'm just going to get my mixing brush. I'm just going to kind of stick it straight in the hopper in there. You can't really see because I'm off the camera a little bit. But I'm just going to put those drops in there. Give it a mix. Because it's just, I used to use a cocktail stick for this, but I don't know why that's a good idea. If you're going to mix something, use a cocktail stick or a brush. There we go.
It feels weird not to be painting right now. This is normally my painting time, but I've had such a relaxed week. I'm normally so busy that I look forward all week to get to my 2 hours on a Friday to paint.
This is a
been
shiny
so relaxed
colour.
this week.
This is a shiny colour, dude. So anyway, here we go. I'm just going to go straight on there. I've never put metallic through this airbrush before. I'm always normally about just standard colours. And it is a little awkward to kind of get through. Maybe I've just got a bit of a blockage in there. It's a bit spattery. But again, quality isn't really what we're after here. It's just about...
I've never used an airbrush. Never done it.
Well, when we're allowed to actually have friends again, Kyle, you're more than welcome to take a trip over and actually have a go if you want to. And if you ever want to know a bit about airbrushing, there are plenty of other videos out there. But of course, that's a topic that I can cover. I know a little bit in my own researches and investigations. I haven't played with many other airbrushes, but I did a lot of research on them before I bought my own because it is quite an investment. And it's quite an investment if you have never had a go and you're like, well, and that's exactly what happened to me. So yeah, I had to do a lot of research because it's an investment of about 200, 250 quid.
That's it, and it's one of those investments I'm happy to make once I know
once you know what you're doing, yeah. And it just takes practice. I mean, I've been going for a couple of years with this, and I'm only just starting getting used to it. But I made a lot of rookie mistakes. But best way of learning, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Kyle, this is a really nice colour, mate.
It's a lot quicker than using a brush, isn't it?
Yeah. That's another thing as well. If you are expecting to be like super quick and like with this off the bat, think again, because there's a lot of like trigger control, for example. So if you want a good airbrush, you want a dual action trigger, which is you get airflow control by pushing down on the trigger, and then you get paint flow by pulling back. And obviously, the more you push down and more you pull back, the more of each of those things you get. So it takes practice. And then of course you need a steady hand, which I do not have.
I like it. Darren's just put in that you won't look back after you've got an airbrush, and I'm already seeing the benefits once you get used to it.
The main thing that attracted me to it was I wanted to have a go basically, but the main thing that really sold it to me was because I play Tyranids and it's a horde army, and I don't want to paint yellow by hand on 500 units, so 500 individual models for every unit. So yeah, that was the big thing for me, was just being able to cover large areas. It's going on smooth. What I'm going to say about this unscheduled product review is that the Vallejo metallic here is very grainy, I suppose, because I suppose the metallic particle has to go in there. So that's an interesting thing. That might be a deciding factor whether Vallejo metallics are the product for you. Perhaps you want to go for some others. There are some wonderful metallic products out there. I'm a big fan of AK Interactive. They do a lot of the tank colors that I use, and they do some wonderful modulation sets where they got like different shades of the same hue, etc. I think they're just really creamy creams. They're just wonderful. They're beautiful to go through the airbrush. Just really satisfying to paint with. They do, I think what they call them, like the real metallics or something like that, and they basically look like brushed metals. They don't have that granular effect on them, and man, they look perfect. Green Stuff I'd also do pigments, so you add a powdered pigment to your medium, and their results are looking good. They also do a chrome paint, which might be a game changer for a lot of people, but in my opinion, unfortunately, it does look a bit plasticky, like a cheap plastic toy, which if you're trying to do some really cool work on, you might not want. But perhaps working with stains or whatever, you can tone that down. But hey, the first chrome paint for miniature painters. So I don't know how much of this you can see, Kyle.
Yeah,
I'm going to bring it up to the camera so you can have a good look. But it's looking pretty sweet.
I just want to say as well, again, Darren has just said a lot of the interesting effects and cool effects you can get with painting are from airbrushes, and I'm seeing that a lot with being on a lot of the forums and a lot of the tutorials and things. The crazy stuff that they're doing is through airbrush. So yeah, I think it is a next step for anyone that wants to.
Something that I've also discovered is that some of the crazy stuff that I'm seeing now that I'm used to seeing airbrush techniques is that people are achieving better effects sometimes by using layers and just by using mediums to thin the paints down, and just by patience, layer over layer over layer. And is that airbrush? No, it's done by hand. You're like, what? You're crazy. So you can achieve better, but it's a patience game. So we've got Jeff Lacey. That's my dad. Oi, oi, guys. Welcome to the show. Nice to see you. Nice walk we had earlier on. There you go. Wonderful. So yeah, I'm gonna just pop the airbrush down a second. And I'm just going to bring my lights in a little bit so that you can see a little bit better, perhaps. I've noticed, actually, that the monitor that I look, not the monitor, but the actual window that I view what I'm seeing here, what you're seeing through, is actually lower quality than what you see on the actual live feed. But there you go. It looks a little bit more reflective on my side, probably because my skin is so pearly white, it bounces back. But just look at that. That is... how long did that take me? 2.5 minutes to get that coverage over virtually black in one go. And it's smooth, man. There's no loss of detail in there at all. Is this another unscheduled product review? But it's a beautiful colour, and I'm actually, if this was my model that I was doing and I'd chosen the golds, I think I'd be quite upset knowing that this is this colour. It is really quite nice. It's a nice one, isn't it? So that's brassy brass. I'll say it for you again. Brassy brass.
Brassy brass.
Brassy brass.
Yeah, because I don't want them to start all gold though. I want a lot of black coming through, and
okay.
So I think airbrush is the way to go with that. Just not a full coating.
Okay.
That's that kind of idea, if that makes sense.
Yes, yeah, I know what you're trying to get at. So what we'll do then, we'll play around.
This is still super helpful, but
we'll play around with it a bit more, because I've got Citadel shades, I've got Nuln Oil, which is the black, I've got Seraphim, and I've also got Agrax Earth Shade here somewhere in the myriad of paints that I've got on my desk. Can't find it, but it's there somewhere. We can have a little go with those as well and see how those compare to the oils. I'll do the acrylics first because they'll dry much quicker, especially in the dry heat of this room. And then I'll put the oils on, and then hopefully by the interval time we'll have some really good test shots. And what I'll actually do as well is I'll take some photographs live during the show, and I'll put them up on Facebook so that you can see them. And that'll be a nice little way of bringing a little bit of limelight to the Facebook page.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. So now that everything is covered in gold, fantastic. Yeah, I'll put him over here. Wonderful. And I'll put this thing down here. I'm just going to have to purge the airbrush, especially as I've got flakes of gold in there now. If you are going to get an airbrush, get one of these. It is essentially a jar. It has a vent on the top and a hole in it, but it also has a really cool stand that you can put your airbrush on, and it's somewhere for you to purge excess paint and all the cleaning stuff through, because if you do it, you'll just be wasting paper or carpets. How did the carpet turn out last week, Kyle?
Not great.
Did it not survive?
It survived because we cut the tags off the underside of it and flipped it over because of it's that kind of rug. So I kind of got away with it that way, but
did you have to tell?
Yeah, I mean, I got caught before I could tell. So
oh man.
Yeah, I've been on the brew duty this week, just relentlessly making cups of tea.
I did wonder if you were going to be alive to tell the story.
Yeah, I managed to get away with just making lots of brews.
Lad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe work with a sheet down or something.
Yeah. I thought I'd fine because I got a big tray and I just flung the pot of paint completely away from me, and away from everything that would normally catch any stray paint. It's quite an impressive manoeuvre. I don't know what happened, but I dropped a whole pot of paint on the floor.
Paint pot Olympics.
Yeah.
What colour was it?
Gold.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well.
It's okay. You managed to flip it. Yeah, I think I got off pretty lightly, Adrian. I'll take that, definitely. I'm still allowed to do this, which is I thought I was going to get like a ban or something.
A message to Kyle's partner. Thanks.
Yeah. She also came and helped me because she saw me struggling trying to take pictures of models today, and I found out how hard it is to take pictures of your
taking pictures
models.
is difficult. Taking pictures is a tough thing.
Yeah.
Because in the community
Should we get
spotlight
into
later on today, we're
justice?
actually going to be looking at some of your models today, aren't we?
Yay!
Because we haven't.
And I still don't think the pictures do justice. It's so hard to get it right.
Yeah,
but they were a lot better than mine.
Not everyone has. And I know that light bulbs are cheap, I get it, but not everyone has the time, money, resources, whatever, to get all that stuff. So, yeah, if you haven't and you still want to show off your models, don't worry about it. It's fine. Do it. You know, if you've got a model that you are particularly proud of because it's the first one you've done, or you can see improvement, but you don't think you're very good, screw it. Put the photo up there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. I want to see it because I'm not great.
Definitely. I've because of this, I've just been watching and like looking at so many more models and tutorials and sort of like getting on the forums. Like just got that bug now, which is fantastic. Really happy with it. It's the
Good.
first time I've really gotten into this side of the hobby, and I'm really enjoying it.
Fantastic. I want to get more into making as well. So when this channel picks up a little bit of pace, I'm hoping that there'll be enough interest to do maybe a separate channel for terrain, because I think that's
cool.
I think that's an element that's grossly overlooked, because obviously the whole ethos of Easy 8, well, at least the online painting club, is for you to get your models painted so that you don't play with grey armies anymore. Get those grey armies painted. But when you've got an entirely rainbow army going out on a monochrome battlefield, a bit depressing, isn't it? So you need to pay attention to both, don't you? So yeah,
we've said this before when we play games. Obviously, we're lucky when we play around yours. You've got a proper board, you've got good terrain, but it's quite demoralising painting up an army beautifully and then playing with books and socks as your terrain.
Yeah. If that's all you've got, great.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
everyone needs it.
We've all done it.
Everyone needs that first battlefield or whatever. But if you're really into it, then you need to. You don't need to do anything, but it's worth giving your battlefield, your tabletop, the attention that you do with your miniatures. Anyway, that's my opinion on it. For me, it's always been a big deal because my dad, Jeff, he's watching right now, is a terrain maker.
Yes,
so
you've got no excuse there.
Yeah, so all the way through my life, it's always been class products on the table. I've never played with plant pots and Coke cans and things like that. I have done. I've gone like sometimes, a beer fueled. Oh, do you fancy a game of 40k? Yeah, cool. And then like at midnight, pulling out, putting the cat on the table and go like, yeah, that's cover. Okay, cool, whatever. We've all done it, but give your models the respect by having that battlefield to play on as well. So what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be trying to highlight my Biovore's carapace. So anything that's grey on it. So he's got hooves on his feet, claws on his hands, spikes on his forearms. He's got some carapace on the tops of his thighs, on his head, and all the way down his back, which is the main feature of him, because the Biovore in Warhammer 40,000 is an alien creature that is quite big. Like, he must be the size of like a Land Rover, I think, probably even larger than that. But on his back he carries another creature as a symbiote. It has these great big horrible spore sacs under here and on the sides here, and it is another creature. It has a little eye on the side of it here, which I quite like. That nice little touch. And basically it fires giant mindless mines that just kind of drift across the battlefield, and I've always liked the concept of this kind of mine thrower, and I like this model. This is an older model, as most of you are probably aware. I don't really like the newer one, so I stripped this one down a couple of weeks ago, been painting them up, and it's one of the few things left to really do now is just to kind of get the grey all kind of highlighted, get rid of some of the horrible mess that I made with the non-oil last week. I'm going to dot the eyes, and then really it's going to go on a base. And I'm going to do the base work on it. There's some gold on that. It's been blown across the field. And then he's pretty much done. And then I'll varnish him to kind of protect him, because he's metal, and I do keep rubbing off bits of colour on like the points and things. And then he'll go nicely with the 20 spore mines I did up right at the beginning of Easy 8's life, I suppose. Oh, I've got a biscuit. Check that out.
Journey.
Thanks very much. Right, yeah. So
just before we move on, you've got a good question from Adrian, just about what chemicals you use to clean the contents of your purging pot.
All of the chemicals that I use, and it is a really good question, I believe they are all water soluble, so they are absolutely fine to pop down the drain. If you are using lots of spirits and things in there, then you obviously want to check with the spirit that you're using. Mostly, even spirits are drain safe, I believe, but there are obviously chemicals out there that you can't put down. If your water goes straight into a river outlet, you might be out in the middle of the countryside, for example. But Kyle and I used to work in a place, that's how we know each other, that actually had a septic tank, and it had a runoff that went straight into a river that ran right past where we worked. You're not allowed to stick a lot of stuff down the drains out there, so you have to be very careful. But for going down a conventional sink, all of these airbrush thinners, flow improvers, and the cleaner, I use a cleaner from AK Interactive, they are all acrylics, so they're really quite mild, and they're quite okay to go down the drain. When you think that there are some powerful bleaches that go down drains to clean them, these are absolutely fine. But it is a good question. So I purge into this jar, and then when it kind of gets manky, filled, or whatever, I just chuck it down the drain and give it a wash out. It should be fine. But if you've got any concerns, do a little bit of read up on the bottle, do a little read up on maybe your outlets, and make your decisions based on that. But it's absolutely fine for where I am. So, cool. Right, I'm gonna crack on with some. No, I'm not. Do you know, I want to stick some stains on this bad guy here, because I'm gonna want to let that dry, and then I'm gonna go straight into highlighting. Okay, Kyle, your choice, mate. So we've got sepia. I spat a little bit there. Sorry. We've got sepia and we've got nuln, and then I've got the oils here. Which one would you like to see, or first, etc.?
I think sepia would be really interesting, because that's where I was leaning towards with my golds anyway. Just to match it off with that warm gold, I think a brown shade might work quite nicely. We'll see what happens.
Let's do this. So I'm just going to slap it on straight from the bottle, because that's how hazardous I want to play. I know. There's lots of detail on the front, because I think it'll be easier if I'm going to do oils and stuff later to do that kind of on the back. It'd just be a little bit easier to use the sponge perhaps. So I'm just going to do maybe the front and this arm with the gun. I'm just going to do that in sepia and just see where it goes.
Nice.
So I know it's very difficult watching on a bit of a delay for you, Carl. I know everybody else kind of just sees it all live and happening, but for you it's quite difficult to see it on the delay. I have as I was talking about just before we went live, I think I've got a solution to that, where the software that I use to broadcast might actually allow me to show you what I can see live as a webcam source, and after the show, because we haven't had a chance to sort it out yet, if you've got 10 minutes we can perhaps have a little play with that, so for future it might be a bit easier for you to see what's going on.
Sweet.
So,
I like to
here we
kind
go.
of predict and see what happens, but yeah, it's fine.
It's going on, and already that has enhanced that colour beautifully. I will take a photo of this in a minute when I'm done, so that you can see it, and I'll stick it on Facebook so that everybody else can see as well. And I'm being really, really liberal with this. I've got quite a beefy brush, and it's about 1 centimetre in length, maybe a bit longer. And I'm just slapping it on. Slap the paint on.
And we've been talking about that as well.
We have, haven't we?
Different ways
different
to apply
techniques.
the shades.
Now, what I don't want to do, because I am slapping it on, is I don't want to like just let it dry and pool in one area. So once I've stuck it on, and this is what I was having trouble with the Nuln last week, I think like Seraphim Sepia is a better stain for this, better wash. It's called a shade now, isn't it? Because
It's called an ink.
yeah. It just seems to move around. You when you put it on, you got a little bit of time to kind of shift it and go, actually, don't pull here. I'm going to pick you up with the brush and I'm going to move you over here like I am now.
It has really made a big difference.
It has.
On that
It
gold,
has. Can you see it clearly? Can you?
Yeah, you can really see it against the leg when
Yeah.
you've done the shoulder pad, the difference in colour. And Luke's just said as well, a flesh shade.
Yeah.
It's just a bit darker than sepia, which is really interesting.
I've actually got a contrast
shade would be a brown.
for the contrast paints by Citadel for flesh here as well, which we could also have a go. Perhaps I'll stick that on the head in a minute as well and have a little look and see how that plays.
So I've got that the Ryken flesh tone shade. I use that quite a bit as well. I didn't think about that on a gold.
I think I might actually have that somewhere. It might be in the box of things I've got beside me. We'll have a little look.
Box of many things.
I have a box of wonders.
But even using that as your more detailed shades into your deeper recesses might be quite interesting.
Cool, that's looking really good. I'm quite happy with that.
Because I just want that grimdark. I think they would just look really silly if they were really shiny and
really bright and shiny. If it's like little details, you want them to be a bit brighter so they stand out a little bit. But when gold is the colour, it's not what you want, is it?
Gold, yeah. And again, they're meant to have white wings.
The lights are bleeding it out a little bit. Let me bring these lights down a bit so I can kind of.
I'm going to go for quite a dirty off-white as well for the wings, because again, just that bright white.
Oh yeah, because they have wings on their backpacks, don't they?
They do, yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, that's the Seraphim. That seems to be sitting there steady now. Let's just wash that brush out. I am doing like the classic. You shouldn't have like I should be doing what I'm doing right now. I'm just washing all my colours off in the same gold flaked water now, but whatever. It's just a test. Just a test. I'm gonna have a quick go with the Nuln, and I'll do that on the other arm.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, have a little play. Okay, here we go. I'm always nervous about Nuln. Just before the show started, I was just touching up some Nuln on the Bivor earlier on, and I just out of muscle memory just put the brush in my mouth. Service announcement: don't do it. Don't eat Nuln oil. It is awful. It tastes a little bit like mold and dirty dishwater. It was just awful. Very similar effect, but obviously a very different colour here, Kyle. What it's doing is it's not transforming the colour underneath like the Seraphim Sepia did, and it kind of gave it a much more warmer hue, as we talked about a couple of episodes ago with the colour wheel. What it seems to be doing is darkening it down quite a bit without affecting the sort of colour temperature, if you like, and it's just basically identifying all the detail. Because obviously that's what a shade does, and it just kind of runs into all the little creases and things on there. I don't think I like it as much as what the other shade has done.
Yeah.
And it
just starting to see that now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can really see that difference.
You can.
The two.
It looks a lot cheaper, actually, I think. One of the things that I'm starting to rethink my choice on black shades. I was actually watching a video on YouTube, and unfortunately I can't remember the guy's name, but I will bring it up when I can remember. in another episode, or perhaps just in the description of the comments later. There's a gentleman who is a bit of a pro painter. And refuses to use Citadel washes. I'm like, why? Because I really like the browns that I use. I get a lot out of that, as I've already said about Seraphim Sepia. It's a nice paint to work with. And then as he started talking about never use Nuln Oil, I'm like, oh yeah, I was having problems with Nuln Oil just the other day. So do you remember we've been talking about taking that bold step to move away from browns that you started with? So if you started with Citadel, try Vallejo, try Arcane, whatever. I am now experiencing that very same thing myself. I'm like, oh my god, well, I have all these different brands of paints, but washes, I always use Citadel. Crazy. So on one arm now we've got here Seraphim Sepia, a very warm colour, and it has brought out the details, but not as much as the Nuln Oil, that's really hard for me to say, Nuln Oil has. The black. Where that's kind of really brought the details out by running into them, but just has quite a cheap feel effect to it. But it certainly does look better than just flat brassy brass. So yeah, maybe a mixture of the two. I do have here, let me just go through my box of wonders. I have, and I forgot about this, there's my Agrax Earthshade. I don't think we need to really try that one out today. Here we go.
Just while you're doing that, because my first idea for the gold is because I've based in black and I've already dry brushed grey and then a lighter dry brush of white over the model.
Right.
And that's just to pick out all those highlights. And I was thinking about dry brushing my gold on, so it goes on in a nice thin layer, a little bit darker anyway because it's been dry brushed on.
Sure.
Using that to basically cover the model in gold, but it will just pick out those greys and whites underneath a bit more.
Yeah, it might do.
I was thinking.
Yeah.
I just wasn't sure how it would go with a metallic. It worked really well with the red. I did that with my suppressors. Started with black, went grey, then white, then went red, and then orange on dry brushes. So it's just 4 layers of dry brushing, and it worked really nicely. I was really happy with it. I just wasn't sure it'd work with a metallic paint, where they are a bit.
It's worth having a go, isn't it? Last week we were talking about me sending you a couple of like Space Marine models that I've got left over. So what I'll do at the end of this show, I'll obviously wait for this one to dry. I'll stick this one in a jiffy bag for you with a couple of other random models that I've got, and I'll send them down for you so you can see this one up close, and you can practice on the other ones if you like. Yeah, Darren's put in the suggestions there that what about a pin wash around and on the detail only to contrast of golds. So that's a really good point actually. So I've just slapped these stains on just to kind of get a very basic quick effect look on them. But what you could do is you could do it with a slap on colour of the sepia, and then you could pin wash with the black. Can't say Nuln Oil. Yeah. And that might give you. What I'll do later on when the sepia is dry, I'll go back over with the black and do a pin wash on it and see what it looks like. Cool. And then Kesslin has put in here. I went away from Citadel, but now have gone back again. Other paints were not working for me. Yeah, fair.
What specifically wasn't working for you, just out of interest? Because I'm new to the whole world of different companies of paints and them having their own pros and cons. What was it? First of all, that had you move away from Citadel, and then what was it that brought you back? Would be interesting.
That's a good question. I'm just trying to select my brush here because I don't want to go too heavy with this one, so I'm going to pick a slightly smaller brush here. So I've got now, Kyle, contrast paint. Contrast, he says in his Devonshire accent. Guilliman Flesh, which is one of the ones I use for flesh tones, like doing bare heads and things in a pinch. So I'm going to pick up just a small bit on the end of the brush here. I'm not going to water it down. I'm just going to kind of stick it straight back on. And I'm going to do this one over the face and chest so that we can see how this one kind of works out. Let me bring him up close to the camera there. There we go.
Adrian's just said about getting an old model to test your scheme on. And I had some high elves that I was basically going to use, but I realised because just the style of the model is so different, it wasn't working for the techniques I wanted to use. But it's just jogged my memory that somewhere I've got an assault squad that I'm just never going to use now, and that might be a great shout. Okay. Yeah, just remembered that. Unfortunately, it had my favourite model I've ever made in it, but you can't use it anymore, which was an assault squad sergeant with 2 melter pistols.
Oh, the classic Inferno.
Yeah, because that is what Blood Angels do. You used to tank shock with him. It was fantastic.
So this contrast paint is having a very interesting effect. It has a much darker effect than the sepia, which is kind of brought out the gold tones to that brassy brass. I can't really explain how this contrast paint is working. It's just a darker color. It's not affecting the metallic layer underneath. It's not a wash, but it kind of behaves like one, so it does go on quite thick. So you want to be careful about your details, but it's actually a very nice effect, and you might actually like that. So again, I'll just do like I'll do his whole front from sort of codpiece to helmet, and I'll take a photo in a bit, and then you can see.
We've got a couple good comments coming in. Kesslin just saying moved away from Citadel because of the price and how much you get. Yeah, I get that. A lot of the other ranges I've looked at, you just seem to get so much more paint for your money.
Yeah, you really do.
But that they were thin or watery, which is quite interesting because obviously a lot of people talk about watering down your Citadel paints anyway. But then obviously these paints have gone too far the other way. That they're potentially too watery.
Is not just common; it is the best practice to be putting 2 to 3 layers per color on there. Minimum. So if you're finding that you used to be putting paint on thick and getting a quick job done, in the context of personal improvement, don't be nervous of it consuming more time. That's what it takes to be better, is it just takes a bit longer. So don't be worried about thinner paints, but if that is a lack of quality, then obviously move away from that.
And we've got Jeff just saying about using inks to quick shade. I think it's the exact same thing. I remember the old Citadel shades used to just be called inks. So I don't know if it's a different composition.
I'm glad someone brought up the subject of inks, because when I was struggling with the black on the Bioville model just over there, I was sat there thinking, laying awake at night going, how can I achieve this? I actually thought, maybe inks. They behave entirely differently, and I don't know. They are much more intense where they rest, and I don't think you use inks to necessarily create a filter over the whole surface. They tend to run free a little bit more, and they collect and they dry very intensely in those areas. So very good for
more flex detail.
So if you want to put it into fine details to kind of border colours off, like I wanted to on the Biovore, might have been what I wanted to do. I still managed to achieve roughly the effect I wanted though. So a lesson for the future. I think I will get some. Anyway,
and then Adrian said as well about sponging off some of that contrast paint just before it dries.
Sponging some of it off. Okay.
He just said before it dries, try sponging off the contrast. You might get a more interesting effect.
Well, I was just about to walk away from that, but I've got a sponge right here on the end of a brush. It's just something that I was never going to use. I thought it was probably quite good. I believe makeup brushes, because of their density, are better. I do have one somewhere, not for my own makeup, but I just happen to have one. I don't know what I've done with it, but I've got this brush, which I think is for painting around features in your home. But it is quite a nice brush. It has a cat hair on it that I'm trying to get rid of. But let me just see what happens. I'll just do like one side of him and see what the difference is.
Yeah,
Boop.
cool.
Boop.
Great test model. A little bit of everything on him.
Yeah, right.
See what works. I did see as well, I do try and keep up with the Facebook page, but the one that really stood out to me this week was the Rorke's Drift.
It was really nice. That was really good.
Yeah, I love that. That's one of the things I started looking into when I was looking at my Imperial Guard Force, Astra Militarum, whatever you want to call it, is using alternate models as well from other companies.
Third-party models. I'm not frightened of it. Obviously,
Games Workshop.
Yeah, those guys don't want you to be bringing not their products to their product-only tournaments. That's a fair thing to say, but I'm not frightened of it as a modeler. The sponge has definitely helped here. Just cool. gently dabbing. Didn't take very long at all. I'm looking on the side where I haven't done it. You can definitely see pooling, which I'm not a fan of at all. And on the side where I've kind of dabbed it, it's just prevented that basically. Nice. Thank you very much. And that's what this show is all about, right? Sharing the knowledge. So I'll let that dry there. I'm going to let that one go for a while, I think, and then I'll come back and I'll hit it with the oil paints. What I will do is I've got my phone right here. I'll take a picture of him now, so I'll put him up on Facebook so that you can see it.
And Keslin's just said as well about basically painting it the colour you want, the model, heavy wash and shade, and then dry brushing base colour again, and then even add in a potentially lighter highlight. And that's what I pretty much used for my Fuss Blood Angels. And I really like that effect. It gave me quite a dark effect, which is what I was looking for. But it's a great style. I really enjoyed it, and I had it quite quick, which when I first started painting, I needed, because my attention span wasn't very big, and I needed to see success quickly. But yeah, really good technique. I really liked it. There's quite a lot of tutorials. I know. I pretty much just followed a Games Workshop tutorial that went through those steps. Which models have you been painting, Keslin, that you've been doing that technique on?
I've got an old camera lens here, and it smearing a little bit. There we go, getting a lot of flare. Not the most steadiest of hands.
Says the person on a painting channel.
Yeah, I know, right?
Just when you need it to be, though. That's the only important thing.
There we go. Cool. That is being uploaded to Facebook right now. Boop. It's got no comment on there. I'll adjust it later on. There we go. Just stick it on the newsfeed, Nate. Go. So, if you're watching right now, head on over to Facebook, Easy8. Head on over to the just the standard front page and have a little look at that model. Much clearer than probably what the webcam is showing right there.
And in fact, it's almost time for a break, so it'd be a good time.
I was just about to say, I think we're getting pretty much to that time now, aren't we? Where if you need to pop to the bathroom or just stand up and stretch your legs, refocus your eyes, whatever it is you need to do, let's pull away and have a break right here. So let me just sort that out. Come back to over here. So you haven't been painting anything, just learning from the community there.
This is one I really wanted to pay attention to. Not that I don't pay attention to normally, Danny, but it's one I wanted to make sure I was focusing on to have a bit more input on what's going on with the golds and things.
Yeah,
so,
cool. Yeah. Just because I noticed that Kestin's online with us today and being quite active in the chat there, I did say a little while ago that I was going to help her paint some of her BattleTech models for colour schemes and whatever. One of your models is currently in the Green Stuff paint stripper. Green Stuff World paint stripper that I did a little feature on a little while ago. So tomorrow they're probably coming out, and I'll probably start some work on that one. The Mad Cat is yet to go in there, but yeah, it's a really good paint stripper, so it should be a nice and easy job. Anyway, let's consider having a break. Let's get rid of this music here just for a moment, and go to our intermission. About 10 minutes. If you need to pop off, grab yourself a cup of tea or whatever it is that you need to do, we'll be here back again in about 10 minutes time. See you then.
See you in a minute.
and we're back. I actually never left, but Kyle did. Before we go too far, I am seeing for the first time during this show some warnings coming up on my monitor saying about skipped frame rates. That could be for any number of reasons. It could be the fact that it's just New Year and there's a lot of people using the internet around here. It could be any number of the recent audio and video things the changes that I've made recently. If you are experiencing poor quality or dropping quality and it's just not watchable, or you're just concerned, hit me up in the comments, hit me in the live chat, let me know, and if there's something that I can do, I will definitely do it. Anyway, I've obviously taken a couple more pictures of this model that we've been looking at and kind of playing around with golds and things. I've put a couple more in the comments of the original picture on the Facebook page. Head on over if you want to have a little look at those. Kyle and I were just talking about that the Guilliman Flesh, the contrast paint, is the one that we're probably most impressed with at the moment. The black hasn't really done much in my mind, though it has brought out some details on it, and the sepia colour has really made a matte quality over that gold, and it's really quite nice. But the colour that the Guilliman Flesh has added to that gold colour, that brassy brass, is really quite the most attractive, I think. Anyway, at this part of the show, I like to talk about shout-outs and community spotlight. So for the last 7 episodes up till now, I've always spoke about the same bunch of businesses out there because they're close to me, they're close to my heart, and just geographically. So the first one is Purple Lion Creations, and the other one is Charlie Foxtrot Models. And I always talk about Hostile Galaxy, which is a US-based digital magazine. But I always end up talking for hours and hours about them every week till everyone kind of gets a bit bored of me talking about them. They are still very important to me, but I'm not going to talk about them this week. If you want to know more about them, go back to episode 7 or to any other episode that we've done prior to now. Look in the description in the comments, and you can just probably find the links and go and have a good look. I urge you to, because those websites are fantastic. But I do talk about, and I have spoke about recently, Just Play UK. They are a Liverpool in the UK based company. They call themselves a hobby superstore, where they sell everything from Magic the Gathering and card-based games to war games, tabletop games, everything like that, and all the hobby supplies that you need. And you can also drop in when you're allowed to go and play games with your friends. What I find the most astonishing is the range of products that they supply, and they also have some of the best customer service that I've seen in anywhere. They're really, really good. Just Play UK. I think I've put that in the description in the comments. If I haven't, I will go back and I'll do it at the end of the show, but it's been Christmas and I've had audio problems and I can't remember if I did it or not. I don't know why I'm doing this with my arms. So that's Just Play UK. In fact, during the interval, Kesslin sent me a message on Facebook and saying, have you seen this item from Just Play UK? Because they supply Green Stuff World products, which I like to use, where they are doing a light box. So for about £16, maybe just over, you could buy a little light box to put your miniatures in so that you can take quality photographs of them. And as we were just kind of taking photographs here, and Kyle was talking about photographs of his miniatures earlier on, it can be quite difficult. For a very small fee, you can have a nice, small, easy-to-store box that's very, very easy to use. Perhaps head on over there. Is that another unscripted product review? I think so.
I don't think it's a review because we've not used it, but it's definitely a plug.
Yeah, right.
Take that.
But Kesslin did send me the link. Kesslin, if you wouldn't mind, perhaps you could just drop that link into the Facebook feed so that people can see it if they want to, because it might be really handy, especially if people want to start sharing their photos a bit more through this program. Another place I want to shout out to is because of Instagram. I've recently been talking, I say recently, like just a couple of hours ago, been talking to a gentleman from Dice Saga on YouTube. They also have an Instagram account. They started following Easy 8. It was brilliant. I started following their stuff because I really liked the quality of their models that they were painting, and I headed on over to their channel on YouTube. That's Dice Saga. They are not in the description at the moment because I literally was speaking to them just prior to coming online today. But they basically have an Instagram account channel for their models, and on their YouTube they do something really interesting and quite unique. They play a load of games in Age of Sigmar. I think that's where their passion is, Age of Sigmar. They play a load of games, and then they create a narrative story, and they do a battle report style story of the games that they play. They've got quite a few followers. They've been running for just under a year, and frankly I just think it's fantastic because it's so unique. I've not seen it before. Kyle and I, we're well-professed lovers of narrative style of gameplay, but these guys are actually playing games, making a video battle report out of it, and turning it into a story as you watch the video. So head on over to the channel. I've even noticed that they had a couple of, or at least one, painting tutorial on there as well. Didn't have a chance to look at that one. Just had a little chance to kind of have a peruse through their YouTube channel just prior to coming online when I was having my dinner. It looks really interesting. So perhaps head on over, subscribe to the channel. I have, and they've subscribed to Easy8 too. Share the love. It's a community, right? Brilliant. That's Dice Saga. You can also find them on Instagram. So yeah, thanks. They actually talked about maybe having some sort of collaboration with Easy8 in the future, which I'm stoked about. I'm really happy. I don't know what sort of future collaboration that entails. Perhaps if you've got any ideas, Kyle, to the community, whatever, let us know. Drop it in the comments of this video or on Facebook and have a chat with us. If there's something that you want to see for a collaboration from us to the gents over at Dice Saga, hit us up. Let us know. It'd be really interesting. But then, of course, we want to talk about Community Spotlight. Got a bit of a change for you. If you were watching earlier on, you would have remembered that we've got Kyle's models to look at today, because we haven't actually seen your models up close, because it's just normally on the webcam here, and your lighting isn't the best, is it? So let's head on over to the Community Spotlight and have a little look what you've got over here.
It's quite nervous, actually, people looking at your models.
Are you really? So we just got the three models up. You sent me, like, you did like a massive data dump on me earlier. What about these photos? So out of those, I chose 3 because there were a lot of repeats trying to get. Just trying to get quality out of it, weren't you? Really, more than anything. Yeah. So tell us what we're looking at here, Kyle. I'm looking at 3 intercessors. Inceptors with giant cannons.
Suppressors. Yeah, these are Vanguard suppressors. So they are Primaris, they've got their crazy Primaris jump packs, and they've got autocannons. And they are just sort of the most Blood Angel approach to... These are actually a fast support with autocannons. I think they're fantastic. It's exactly what I want in my Blood Angels, is my big guns jumping around with jump packs.
Because those are big guns.
They're normally mounted on a Predator.
Do you know what what they remind me of in those positions? It reminds me of like the whole comical idea of someone with a fire hose and the pressure of the fire hose kind of just spraying them around the room.
Yeah, I imagine if you're up in the air shooting one of those things off, the recoil is going to be hilarious. I think they've taken in Newton's third law there. But yeah, they got really bad reception from the community about them not looking cool, and I just thought they looked awesome.
I actually like these guys with the autocannons. I think the ones with the giant plasma guns, or the bolter, like the handheld heavy bolter things, the assault bolters, whatever they are. I didn't really like those very much. I'm not a massive fan of the stances that they're in, but it plays into everyone.
Not a great stance.
Everyone's opinions are always different, and I totally respect that. Jeff just put in the comments, loving the colour. So there you go, Kyle. Yeah, nice bit of feedback there, eh?
That style I was talking about, that grimdark, trying to not be too bright.
Yeah,
and without an airbrush trying to build up that kind of fade-in colour.
Also, not characters. Maybe with a character you'd spend a bit more time. Maybe the whole time that you would spend on a unit, you would put into one figure for a character to kind of put that bit more attention to detail in there. But there's only 3 people in there. Is it just a unit of 3?
It is just a little unit of 3. These are slightly different autocannons, just getting a bit sort of geeky into the meta. They're heavy 3, -1 AP, 2 damage. So quite a nice sort of light armor, heavy infantry kind of
cool
stuff. But yeah,
do they fire those when they're flying, or do they use their jetpacks to land in a position, fire, and then too sweet?
They're meant to, I think, fire from the floor, but in my head you'd have to take a couple pot shots whilst you're on the bounce, I reckon, just to look cool.
Yeah,
that's what
because let's face it, I don't care if you're a Space Marine super soldier or not, adrenaline's going to take over, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, I like how the sergeant has a sight on his autocannon.
You're going to get a bruised eye socket, bro. Okay, let's move on to the next picture now. I just did a couple of close-ups. So obviously you got a bit of a time delay on it, but this is just, I think, just one of the ordinary grunts there. Nice little close-up so you can see the paintwork a little bit more. You got some shadow in the background. If anyone out there is a pro photographer looking at this going like, oh, I got shadow in the background, not everyone's got access to all those lights and whatever, and you were really concerned about the quality of the lighting. To me, mate, that's absolutely fine. Don't worry about it. Just share the pictures. This isn't a gallery. This is a community of people kind of sharing their work. So can you see him now on your screen?
Not yet.
Oh, okay, he's coming up.
Up there he is. Yeah. And again, just that lighting unfortunately bleeds it out. Doesn't quite get the effect, I think, when you look at it with the natural eye. But yeah, that's the idea behind them. Grim dark looking, worn down.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like it. I like the fact that you've used dry brushing to kind of raise the highlights up. I'm always a little bit frightened to do too much dry brushing because for me, I think I've moved on to the stage where I want to use kind of layering to kind of bring those colours up. But what I like about your dry brushing over anything that I've ever done is it really kind of taps into that grim thing, which is what you're saying over and over. It's this thing that you're really kind of trying to go for. And then the last photo I've got there, I think, is of the sergeant of the models, and I like him because you've got quite a nice. Is that a bare face on him? I think it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Got
the bare face. The only thing I need to do with the two normal troopers, as it were, is give them blue helmets. I just got in the zone and forgot.
Oh, you said last week, didn't you? Yeah, because there's different types of units in Blood Angels and various other Space Marine armies have different colours on different parts of their armour, sometimes to denote the unit that they're in.
Yeah, so it's heavy support, fire support in Blood Angels have blue helmets, their close support have yellow helmets, and their battle line have red. So it doesn't go with your troop selection, as it were. So it's not, is it fast attack or a heavy choice or an elite choice? You kind of got to work out what their role is on the
battlefield.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So these guys have blue helmets because they've got autocannons.
Yeah, I like it. He's also got blonde hair on there as well, because I believe all Blood Angels are blonde, aren't they?
Yes, they are. They are angelic.
Yeah, that's cool. I like them. I think they're really good. What was your recipe for doing the skin tones there? Because that's something that I think I might spend a whole episode on, maybe not just on Online Painting Club, perhaps I'll do it as a separate thing, like a tutorial such, to try and do skin tones. That's something I want to bring up with you in a bit when we leave Community Spotlight here, is skin tones. How did you achieve that?
It was really simple. I just used, I can't remember the one off the top of my head, might have been Cadian Flesh Tone, and then I think maybe a Shabti Bone on the hair. No, I've got I should have known this, just put the recipe down. I've got a sandy yellow that I used for the hair, and then I just washed it with, I want to say sepia.
Washing saving the day again, aren't they? Yeah, we love a wash. Yeah. Get those stains in there. Keston's just put in it, they look cool, with a nice emoji for you. Yeah, they're brilliant. I think they're fantastic, mate. And it's... Yeah. Are you going to do anything with the bases? Because I see the bases are empty.
Yeah. So I was chatting to a friend about these. I think we touched on it last week. I want to give them like an alien world feel.
Oh, the crystals.
I'm going to use crystals and sort of some flora as well.
Yeah,
some,
cool.
Bluey green flora.
Sure. I sent you a link, didn't I, during the week about blue crystals from Green Stuff World. If anyone's interested, I can put the links up later on. Green Stuff World do little resin crystals that you can put on your bases or your dioramas or whatever, and they do them in different colours as well. And I sent them to you. They're really quite affordable for quite a bunch, and just to kind of dress the occasional with the base of them, just to do something different, right?
Yeah, and the Marine, they have these big bases, which is fantastic, especially this unit in particular.
Yeah.
And because they're not on the base, you've got so much space I can have a little
to really play around with. Yeah, I spoke about, like, back in episode 1 or 2, I think, I like to tell a story with my bases. So you have the actual model and it's presented on this blank canvas where you can tell the story. So yeah, I think that's really important. I'll be looking forward to seeing that. Give us an update when you get your bases done. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, I will do. There's a few little touches that these models need just to finish them off and their basing. So once they are done, I will get
Wonderful. Well, thanks for sharing your models on on the community spotlight. We haven't seen your stuff really, and it's been nice to see it. And it must feel pretty damn good to have finished a unit as well. Yeah. Motivation to go in and do some more. Cool. So yeah, what I was hoping that we could do at some point is maybe in the Space Marine sprues you get like a load of bear heads and you don't use them and they're on the side maybe for another day. I know I've got a couple of scout heads ready to go somewhere from previous models somewhere along the line, I think. But it'd be really cool to just do like an episode aside from the online painting club, and we just do like an hour or something of just practicing doing flesh tones on head models or whatever, knowing that I've got the Green Stuff World paint remover, which works in an hour on plastics is really good. Leave it there for a couple of hours and it is completely removed. So if you want to start again, you can. I think that would be really valuable. And maybe if there's a pro out there watching who goes, actually, I've got a recipe that you're going to really enjoy, you'll get a lot out of this, then please let us know. Drop it in the comments to this video on Facebook. Catch us on there anytime, because that'll be really interesting. And we can perhaps arrange that later on, Kyle. That'd be quite nice.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, cool.
I'd say I've got loads of those heads. All the Blood Angel spurs tend to come with a lot of spare heads.
Yeah, because we know that for a fact Space Marine actually repel bullets from their open heads. They don't actually have to wear helmets at all.
Yeah,
exactly that. Yeah. Cool. I'm going to take you back over to the workbench. Here we go. So I've got my little palette out ready to have a go with the washes. The oil washes. The acrylics have dried and they're looking really, really nice. I don't know if you can see very well on the camera here, but on this side here, which is where I put the sepia tone, this has gone really, really matte, and this is pretty much what I'd expect in real life, this sort of material or colour to look. So I'm really, really impressed with that. The black hasn't really done what I wanted to do, and it's kind of cheapened it. And in the past, I suppose I'm looking at this now, and I feel that my attempts to use golds, I've always stained them black, and this is the quality that I'm left with, and I've never been impressed with it. But if I'd been using a sepia colour or a brown colour, I probably would have been much, much happier, and I could highlight from that. However, in the middle, I've got the contrast colour, which is Guilliman's Flesh, which is not a wash, but has very similar properties. I sponged one side and a much better quality on there. You can't really see it here, but there's a lot of pooling down here under the elbow, which I'm not a fan of at all. I could have manipulated the brush, but I wanted to see how it kind of worked. What I'm going to do now, I've got the legs on him in the back. I'm just going to play around with these oil paints. I've not even opened these before, so let's have a little look and see how they work. I don't have to pierce them, so that's nice, because I was getting a bit worried there, like, do I have to pierce these now? What's Adrian saying here? I think having done over 100 guardsmen, I can kind of do eyes. Oh yeah, eyes. That's another thing with flesh as well, isn't it? I really want to practice doing faces. Like, it's something I really want to get used to. I see people on Instagram, and it's kind of ruined me because people are just doing heads, like 28mm heads, and it's fantastic. I'm like, I've got to get me a piece of that pie. I've got to have a go. Anyway, I'm going to put just a little bit. I'm not going to be overzealous here with some burnt umber in one side there, and I'm also going to apply a little bit of just straight up black, ivory black this one's called. Winsor and Newton, I believe, are a very good brand. I know very little about the oil paints world, but Winsor and Newton do make some very quality brushes. There I am with my good linguistics again. Make some fantastic quality brushes.
Devon.
Proper Devon blood there, see. Cool. So I'm just going to see how they work. I'm just going to choose my brushes wisely here, I think, because they are oil based. I will have to clean them with Spirit, and I've got some white Spirit over on the side just there. So first colour, let's stay faithful to earlier's attempt, and we'll go in straight with the brown colours. And all I'm going to do, I'm not going to thin this down with thinners. If you are going to thin your oil paints, you do need to use thinners. Spirits are absolutely fine, like white Spirit, but you can also just get thinner. But I'm just going to kind of put this in quite heavy, and I'm going to put this in on his right leg, and it looks like I've ruined it already. Yeah, great. But what I'm going to do in a minute is I'm just going to get a sponge, and I'm just going to try and remove it. I've not done this before, so this is completely new territory here. So I could be completely rubbish at it and it doesn't work, and we go, do you know what, let's not do that ever again. But these paints, I saw them I got them on an impulse buy. I saw them, I'm like, oh, I watched this guy on YouTube do this, so I picked them up, and that was months ago, and I've just not had the opportunity to do it. So what a better chance than now, right? And if it doesn't work, then I've got a couple of oil paints that I could do for something else. They might be really good for like doing like terrain or something like that. So if they're not appropriate for doing
It might just need some practice.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we've got this practice model here for. Right? And I do believe that the Green Stuff World paint remover that I've got will remove this as well. It just might take a little bit longer. So if I want to go back to a blank canvas, I can. Wonderful. There we go. I'm just going to pop that brush over there. And
Fair play to Adrian for doing 100 guardsmen, just anyway, let alone talking about trying to do eyes. Just painting 100 guardsmen. That's a huge start.
Would make my eyes go weird.
Oh.
Yeah. I recently had an eye test the other day because, if you remember a little while ago, I was suffering from some migraines. It wasn't very fun. Had a migraine the other day. My eyesight is perfect, so that's a relief. But if I had to do 100 sets of eyes on models, I think I would probably be told different by the optician. So
yeah, I remember trying eyes once, I think, on an old Chaos Lord, and he was so cross-eyed. I don't think I've ever touched eyes again.
He's got the tape of the warp, Kyle. That's what it is, you see.
Yeah, that's what it is. That Zinch cross-eyed warp effect.
Chameleon eyes.
Mutation.
Right, here we go. So I'm just slapping this on.
With the oil, just one you were saying that you then sponge off. It was, wasn't it? Sorry.
Yeah.
Put it on and then sponge it off.
I was expecting a lot stronger odour from these paints, but actually they're quite tame to the point where I only can smell them just now. I'm just going to pop those over there. I don't really want those now. Brilliant. I'm going to clean my brushes off in a minute, but I need some spirit for that. So you can see now that on one side here I've got quite a heavy dose of burnt umber, and on this side here I've got a very heavy dose of ivory black, and I'm just going to get this sponge here and I'm just going to wipe it off. I'm not going to put anything on the sponge, but maybe that might be another way of achieving effects, but it might leave like a streaking effect. I don't know, I'm just talking rubbish now. So literally I'm just going to get the end of the brush and I'm just going to wipe. I'm just going to put a little bit of pressure in there, maybe a bit more pressure in there. Maybe it's not the best sponge to use in the world. I can definitely see how it is going to affect. It's actually quite good.
Okay.
You can't see it very well, probably from where you are right now. It's a very messy affair, I think, in here. You probably would benefit from having a selection of sponges or sponge brushes or something like that. This particular brush just seems to want to hold on to cat hair. I have I've mentioned it before because cat hair's made an appearance on my shows in the past. I have a long-haired cat, and just dealing with the fur is a real problem, especially when you're trying to run a model show. It happens sometimes. It just kind of drifts in front of my eyesight sometimes when you're trying to paint and focus. There's one there. It just appears. I swear she does it deliberately. Okay, that's actually a really interesting effect, and with a bit of a practice I could probably really achieve some really gritty effects with it. It definitely needs practice, and it definitely has a different appearance than the acrylic washes, and like I said a few episodes ago, oil paints are starting to make a real comeback. The reason they kind of went out of favour probably in the last sort of 10-15 years is because the colour ranges weren't there. Acrylics always had a much broader scope of colours, but technology has advanced in the last 10-15 years in every respect, so now we've got a lot more colour choices in oils, and they're pretty much on par really with their colour range. So if you can do a lot better blending and you can do better techniques with oils, have a go. Take the chance, you know. Let's go with a black. I'm just using the end of the same brush, really, and perhaps I would have different brushes for different colours, but I'm just being quite crude with my approach here.
It's already looking interesting. I'm interested to see like a good photo of it.
Yeah, as soon as I put him down, I'll take a photo and I'll put him straight back on the Facebook page so you can all have a look at him proper close. But what would make it much easier, I can tell you now, is if he wasn't put together completely, because the arms are getting in the way, and I think that maybe the base is also getting in the way, because Terminators, which this is a model of, have 40mm bases. That is 40mm of horizontal obstruction. So you could just put a little bit of wire or a paper clip just push it into the foot on the underside and have a little cork painting handle is absolutely how I would attempt this if I was, if I was going to be doing like this as a squad. I am going to be getting to my Space Marines at some point in the future, and I'm going to be completely addressing the way that I paint them. Going to be doing a lot of new techniques and things that I've learned doing Second World War tanks, with a lot of streaking and grinding, because I want them to look not grim dark like what you're trying to go for, but very realistic and dark, if that makes sense. And a little, yeah, absolutely. So I want like to be like mild rust streaks and grime streaks and stuff on them, so they look like walking tanks, I suppose is probably the best way I can describe that. So it still plays into that grim dark thing, but a different kind of style.
To it.
So
it's interesting. I always have the best intention of painting models before I assemble them fully. And then I never get around to it, and I just make the model because I get excited, and then have to deal with painting it once it's all put together.
At least you know you're in the right hobby, though, right?
And just never had that patience.
I've got, because this brush here is designed for kind of cutting in, painting your home walls and things. I can use the corner of the sponge to kind of get into areas where there's a bit too much paint sat. I can use the prong on the front prong, the edge, the corner, if you will. I can use it to kind of get in there. The gentleman I saw doing this, when I remember who it is, I will put a link to it in the description. He is obviously much better at painting than I am. I believe he's a commission painter, and I watched him do a loincloth on a Space Marine, which is where I first got the idea to bring this to the show, where he put burnt umber onto like a white or an ivory white background colour, just painted it on, and in one wipe, boop, there it was, and it was perfect. It was everything you wanted. But there we go. That was actually, I had to be a lot more precise than I thought I was going to be. Like, I expected to do this one wipe effect, but here I am still having a go. It's really quite fun. I'm enjoying it, and I should imagine after a couple of models I'd probably get quite good at it. And you could even do different combinations of acrylics and oils to kind of get where you wanted to. What I am seeing here is the black has a similar effect to the black acrylic. It just kind of cheapens it, makes it look a little bit tacky, low quality really. It's not really what I would want for this colour, the brassy brass. But the burnt umber, the brown colour, has a grimier, dirtier version of what the sepia tone did and what the Guilliman flesh did. And I would be very convinced here, Kyle, to go probably with oil paints for what you're trying to do. That's my opinion. Tell me to stick it if you like. I'm really impressed with that. That's come out really well, and I'm glad I pulled this model out of the cupboard to have a go with that. If anyone out there is watching this live or on playback later on, and you've got any experience with working with oils in this kind of way, or in any way really, let us know. Come and join in the show, because I would like to learn a lot more. I'm really impressed with that. And what I've done here, Carl, is I've left the back of him and the top in the bare brassy brass colour, so you can see
like a contrast. Yeah,
so you can see what colour it was. It's just a really nice colour, and I've never really, I suppose, given much thought to brass colours before. But there he is. Let me get my phone. I will take a picture of him and I will put him on Facebook so that you can all see it. Let me just scroll down. Oh, some guy on here has just been putting up so much stuff. Here we go. Take a photo. That is the wrong camera. That is my face. There we go. So I'll take it from the back slightly because I think it's a little bit better there. You can see it. Steady hand. It's up.
So weak. Yeah, I've heard of oils. I've looked at a few things, but again, kind of shied away. Not quite thinking my painting skill would be good enough to start branching out to things like that. But it didn't look like an overly complicated technique at all there.
Sorry, I was holding my breath. No, it's like I say, I actually had quite a lot of fun. I was a little bit nervous going into it because oil paints, right? Always stepping away and into the unknown. There's always going to be a little bit of nerves, I suppose. kind of like what's going to go on, what's going to happen. Is it going to go the way I want it to? Don't be frightened. Also, it's Christmas. Save your mince pie trays, because they're really good for doing any number of dirty work or whatever when it comes to model making, terrain making, dioramas and things like that. These are really, really handy. And because I'm going to be using some smelly, potent white spirit to clean a lot of oil paints out of my brushes, a great opportunity here to save other stuff. Cool. So yeah, that's the Terminator, Kyle. I hope you take a lot from that. Both photos are now up on Facebook, so you can have a good look. That's to anyone out there as well. Let us know what you think, and if you've achieved similar, better or worse effects using any other products like acrylics or anything like that, then show us, let us know, talk about it. What's Adrian putting up here? There's lots of comments going in now. I reckon the brown side will look goldy and the black side will look silverish. Interesting. Patience. Yeah, you definitely learn painting Guardsmen. Yeah, for sure. I bet you do. I obviously paint Tyranids, so it's a Horde army as well. But you can be a lot less... What's the word? You don't have to be so accurate with uniform and things like that. All you have to do is make good definition between your colours, like on mine, the yellow and the grey. And that's all, because they're not wearing uniform, they're biological creatures. Their colours are random, No two dogs necessarily look exactly the same. If you find me two dogs that look the same, I'll just be so cross with you. But what I'm trying to say is because they're naturally occurring things, they're not uniforms that's made to specifications. I can just kind of get away with that. If I was going to do Guardsmen, I think I'd fall apart inside. But I have had the temptation to do a Guard army, because tanks, right? They have cool stuff. And you've done it before, haven't you, Kyle? You had a Guard army.
No, I had a Guard idea, and I was so close to pulling the trigger, and I ummed and I ahed, but I had so many armies already, and I really like Guard. I like them as an army. I like how diverse they are, and you have so many different styles in Guard, and then just the ability to convert them. I think they're such a fantastic army for just doing what you want. Yeah, you've got so many options for your conversions and your modelling, and not because
you were doing like an airborne task force, weren't you?
Yeah, like quite an elite air cavalry force.
Yeah,
idea, and again using a lot of third-party models with that as well.
It was a great idea, and I remember you had lots of stuff lined up for it, but then you decided Space Marines were the way. Well, you actually went to Tau, didn't you? I would like to do. I would like to do a lot with Tau. I think Tau are calling me, but. I've got the whole ethos of the show is to paint what you've got before you go and buy more. So I'm still, there's so many things I want to play with and experiment with and just, kind of have a go with. But that's for another time. Anyway, look, we've got about 20 minutes left of the show, and I'm determined to put some highlights on my Biovore. He is going to be finished over the next few days, and I'm really looking forward to putting him with all the spore mines that he's supposed to be a part of. But I really wanted to touch on golds, and I'm glad we did that today, so I'm happy to have put him off for a little bit. I'm not necessarily going to just dry brush this carapace on him. The non-oil didn't do really what I wanted it to, but it has at least kind of fallen into naturally occurring places, so it kind of sits well with me with that idea of it not being uniform, so it can appear however it really wants to. I used two different greys. These are both Citadel greys, obviously, you can see. I've got Dawnstone grey for the base layer, then I apply non-oil as a wash. I try to keep it really thin because it's really quite efficient. It's probably the best word to use. Making a filter so it changes the color underneath, and then I apply it heavier in areas where there are like details, like there are little carapace creases or this little detail here, for example, where I want it to kind of identify that detail, but it just kind of ran away with me, and it was kind of sitting in one place and pooling, and before I could go over to control it, it would just set and it had a tide mark. So it's just got all these weird I use the word too much, but artifacts, which I'm going to try and just hide by using Administratum Grey, which I use as my highlight. That cat hair can do one. It's just been floating around for the entire evening. It's crazy. So I don't know how it's really going to go on here. When I'm doing things like Termagants or Hormagaunts, which are the horde creatures, I do just go in with a small dry brush, and I kind of... I'm a lot less accurate deliberately so with it, but obviously bigger creatures require a bit more attention. So I'm not like completely against the idea of dry brushing. But I'm just gonna... Oh, this paint is starting to dry a little bit. Let's put a bit of grey in here. I quite like to do a mixture of very minimal dry brushing, and then I enhance that by sort of edge highlighting or just detail highlighting. I'm a little bit nervous now because obviously the whole world is watching me do something.
Hand time.
Add a bit of water to there. I'm doing a big no-no. I'm putting it in the gold water, but it doesn't seem to be affecting what I'm doing today, so it's fine. This is where I have gold highlights in my Tyranids later on. God damn you. Yeah, cool. Right, let's wash that thing out.
It'll just make them look like they're wearing glitter. It'll be lovely.
Glitter-nids.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I want. Yeah, laugh all you want. I'm going to eat your planet all the same. Who cares, right?
I believe you've tried that already. You look at the ball.
All I remember, Kyle, is me beating you. Tell me I'm wrong.
Like, you technically won, but I feel like I got the moral victory.
Cool. So I've got a couple of different brushes that I use for dry brushing. I've got it's the smaller, but I think it's got M for medium base, and I've also got the larger one for from Citadel for kind of painting areas. These are synthetic brushes, and just over time the ends curl a little bit on them. So I use them for lots of different jobs. So when you're seeing me use a brush that you would normally use for layering, you see me dry brushing with it, please don't be the guy who haws me up on it. But this layer brush here in particular is really quite frayed on its last ends, so I do use this one as like a small dry brush, so I'm gonna have a little play around with that one now. There are some products out there that could potentially revive this a little bit, so I am gonna pick some of that stuff up and have a go with it and see what it does. But it's always worth having brushes that aren't as good as your others. Have your expensive detail brushes or your heavy duty work or whatever, but then have brushes that are just rubbish and falling apart because they come in handy for dirty bits of work or whatever. So I'm gonna just start on one area, and the easiest area for me to start on is on the front of this Biovore, is where the orifice is that spits these spores out is on the top. I kind of got this arrowhead feature here, and I'm just going to do a little bit of light dry brushing, just touch it on my thumb there, just make sure there's no little paint spots that are going to ruin it all immediately. And I'm just going to brush from the edges of the raised bits, just to kind of show me where I want to be kind of concentrating some brush strokes later. And also, as I apply it across the flat surface, just gently and painstakingly slow, what it's going to do is it's going to tame down the black, I can't say it, null oil, where it just ran away from me. It is just a mixture of me not being very good, the model being a bit awkward, and being metal, and it just, yeah, it's not my best job. I have done some really nice works that I've been really proud of. What I wanted to achieve from this project was just to revive an old model that had been sat in a box somewhere, and I didn't really like, or prefer, is the best word to use, the newer versions of it. And I just thought it would be nice to have this Biovore along with the spore mines, because I'm a big fan of spores. I just like the idea that an alien race comes along to your planet, you go hello, it goes your lunch, and then it just drops billions and billions of explosive brainless animals down into your planet before you can even pick your gun up and march out to go and deal with it. I just think it's a great concept and is ultimately terrifying. Yeah, so I like the horde aspect of it. Like Starship Troopers. We spoke about this before, haven't we? Starship Troopers.
Biovores always remind me of a much smaller version of the
plasma batteries.
That launch orbital bombardments.
The brilliant concept, right?
Yeah.
Brilliant concept, and
exactly that. And every time I want Biovores to be bigger and shooting plasma, but I'm also glad they don't.
Yeah.
We've come up with a suggestion for your new glitter nids. If maybe you pop a unicorn horn on them as well.
Just a big cone.
Just my little nids running around.
My little nids. So, funny you should say about sticking a horn on them. On the back of this Biovore here, this particular spur is sculpted by me using Magisculpt. It took a little while. It's really sticky, but it's also really malleable, and it took me a little while to get it on there. I just thought that this particular location on the creature was just looking a little bit mechanical. It just looked like that really the sculpt hadn't really had an awful lot of attention paid to it at that part. So I was like, do you know what? I'm going to use this opportunity to have a go at sculpting. And I thought it was all that when I did it, and then I painted it. It was like, I actually showed up all the errors on it. But I had a lot of fun doing it. It took a couple of days to kind of just get used to playing with sculpting because, as I mentioned some episodes ago, it is something that I would like to get more into, but I've not had an opportunity or the willpower or drive to really have a go. But, again, another channel potential if you would like to see or interact with doing a lot more sculpting to convert your miniatures or to even sculpt an entire miniature, let's have a go. But, only if the demand is for it, because I've got things to paint. If no one wants to see that sort of stuff, let's crack on with what's important to us. What I would like to have a go at is scratch building. It's an idea I had before the channel launch. One of my ideas was to have another channel going along where I was going to scratch build a big project like a Thunderhawk gunship. And my idea here is to download Pepakura files. So Pepakura is papercraft essentially, and there are websites and Facebook pages and forums full of high quality stuff out there. But rather than just making it out of paper, making it out of sturdier materials like plasticards and balsa woods and MDS and things. And I reckon that as a community, if people are interested, we just have a separate channel. I'll just come on, do a couple of hours a week or whatever, and we'll build this section of this wing, we'll build the cockpit, we'll do whatever, and see if by the end of it we can have like a full-on to scale Thunderhawk gunship or other vehicle of choice or whatever. I think that'd be really interesting, but again, public demand, right?
It's also considerably cheaper than buying one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the models are beautiful, but obviously the payoff, the difference in the money is obviously going to be the cost in your time, because it's going to take a lifetime to paint, to make. And then, of course, once you've got it, you've got to paint it. You don't have to, of course. You can do whatever you want with it. As your Thunderhawk gunship, do it as you will.
But paint it.
Because that's what this program's all about.
Mm-hmm.
So you probably can't see an awful lot of change on the model that I am playing with here right now, but for me, right up close, it is achieving all the results I wanted it to. So where the pooling had pooled, even though it still looks like a bit of pooled colour, has really softened it down, and it's just catching the edges and defining them a little bit with this dry brush. And that shows me later on, okay, I'm going to find that detail later with my detail brush, and I'm just going to edge highlight it, bring it out, and then I kind of blend those back a little bit, and then I can do streaks to make it in line with what I call the cracks in the carapace, and just kind of make it look a bit more natural, as you might expect on Tyranid models, if you've seen them before. Because if you haven't, you wouldn't have a clue what I'm talking about. But
I found that really handy with my models, is putting a dry brush on them before I do anything else. And it just lets me know where I need to concentrate on my highlights.
I'm really not heavy with it at all. I used to use it as a highlight sheet, but now it just kind of identifies things for me. And it goes like, oh, here's a raised bit of detail. It allows you to see the detail more, basically, so that you can focus on it with other techniques. And it also softens up the the filter that the wash has put underneath it. And they'll say the filter is the term that we use to altering the base color, altering the color that you're applying your shade on or whatever product you're putting on.
Also found dry brushing quite handy on the sort of bigger panels on Space Marines, just to let me know where the light's going to hit it.
Yeah.
Things like that, because that's something I was struggling with is where I lighten and
excuse me,
where I apply highlights on those bigger panels. But yeah, I found a quick dry brush was really helpful for
that. One thing that you can do with airbrushing, I mean, you can still do it with a brush, it would just be, a bit more time consuming, is zenithal highlighting. Zenithal highlighting is talking about the direction of light, or from the top to the bottom, so that with an airbrush you would put your model on the table or whatever, and you would spray down from a direction of source of light, often straight from the top. And what that does is it just puts, like, if you paint the whole model black and then spray from the zenithal position white, you're only going to get the tops of the model, and all the undersides of it are all going to be dark. So that basically tells you where the transition points are, and then you can blend between them, and then you can actually have a naturally highlighted model, and that is very easy to achieve.
Yeah, it goes back to some of these incredible dry brush techniques that I need to.
Yeah. With the Space Marines, zenithal highlighting is something that I'm going to be having a look at, especially with characters. So, watch this space. We've got basically about 5 minutes left before the end of the show now. What I'd be really interested to know is, if you're painting out there today, how well have you done? Have you achieved your goals for today? Have you hit benchmarks? Have you hit milestones? What's happening in your painting life at the end of today's show? Been a bit of a different one today. I'm doing some stuff for Kyle. Normally it's all my own stuff. Nice, different change.
For me, it's given me more things to think about, because now I just thought, it's just what gold am I going to use going forward? But now I've got different techniques to look at, and so yeah, interesting.
Yeah, and it comes down to this word again, filter. Filter is the word that you're really looking at there, because all of those paints that we've played with today have filtered the base colour of your brassy brass. Any opportunity to say it.
And I need to get hold of some brassy brass just so I can keep saying it.
Yeah, why not? It's here. Oh no, it's not brassy brass. I've been talking out of my waist hole this entire time. It's not brassy brass. Error.
I don't think for them.
Bright bronze.
I take it back immediately.
I'm so sorry.
Bright bronze doesn't have the same ring.
Doesn't it?
Same ring to it. Do you have a colour called brassy brass?
I do. It's in the box, but maybe we can call it bronzy bronze.
Bronzy bronze. What people in the industry call it.
Bronzy. It's the in term. So yeah, it's not going to be long now before I finish this model. It's certainly not going to be in tonight's show. That's fine with me. Over the next few days I'll do a bit more work on it, and I will take a picture of it. I was gifted with a turntable for Christmas so that I can give you the splendour of 360-degree views of the models that I work with. So as soon as it's done, I will take a picture of it and I'll upload it to Facebook, and and to Instagram as well. Why not? I've got that platform too now, and so that you can all see it when it's all ready to go. And I'll put it with the spore mines and everything, and it'll be like, yeah, first achievement, win. And then I think I'm going to move on to my zoanthropes. I have 3 zoanthropes, and they are a bit of a favourite for me, because floating brains of telekinetic death. They, in the last couple of editions, they've really been beefed up. They're really quite dangerous, and you can take them in groups, which makes them even better. They're generally really tough. They dish out a lot of damage. But if you do get the hits on them, they are pretty squidgy, and they pop off pretty quick. But they used to be able to combine. I don't know if they can in 9th edition, but you could combine them so they become even stronger and stronger. But just this creature, just by the power of its own mind, just floats across the battlefield. It shields itself in telekinetic energy, so that trying to hit it is just almost impossible. And then it just goes, "You're dead, you're dead, you're dead." I just think they're brilliant, and the new models are also really cool.
We've just got a couple of comments coming in about what people have painted this evening.
Cool.
Kevin's just saying, tried some shadowing, but not really happy with the outcome. Pop a picture up on the Facebook.
Yeah, let's have a look. And, let's work together and improve that for you.
Yeah, exactly that. Same with, if anyone's got any feedback, if Danny, you want to post the spotlight pictures of my guys, and I'd love any feedback from people as well. Exactly the same thing. Just constructive criticism is always helpful, especially being new and coming into it. And Adrian, more Angels of Blood on my desk. Only one complete. 55 more to go. Good luck.
I saw some pictures a little while ago of more Primarchs coming out. Was that just fan stuff, or was that true? I saw a Serpent Fulgrim the other day, and I
think there's rumours. Don't quote me, but I think there's rumours of more Primarchs coming, which isn't going to be Blood Angels unless they absolutely Deus Ex Machina the story.
Turns out he was alive. What?
He was alive the whole time.
Oh, you knocking us through a hoop for the last 10,000 years. Where's he been? Spain. He's been having a holiday.
Chilling. Argentina. He's off.
Yeah, right.
So yeah. No,
which Primarch would you like to see return? Kyle, obviously you can't choose your favourite.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to have a think. I'd have to know a bit more as well, because I'm sure there's some that I wouldn't even think about.
I'm a big fan of Corax.
Yeah?
Yeah, Corax. I'd like to see him come back, the Shadow Hunter. Because I play Raptors, so all my research for Space Marines is done into them. They are a successor chapter of the Raven Guard. Their Primarch is Corax, a guy who flies around on a stealthy jetpack and his arms all painted black and he has giant claws. What's not to like? Also, Emo Marines, not really into that, but the Raptors kind of are less on that. That's more a Raven Guard thing. But I also really like Salamanders. And I also really like the Iron Hands as well. So what are their Primarchs? You've got Vulcan, who is the Salamanders one. He's really cool because he's like the ultimate good guy, right?
Yeah, he cares.
Yeah, right. And then you've got, I can't remember who, Ferrus Manus, Mr. Metal Arms himself with a giant hammer. Love to see him. Adrian's put in there, Lionel Johnson, bring back my Primarch. Yeah, because he's actually right there and they don't know about it. They're floating through space on a giant asteroid, and they're going like, we're on an eternal quest to go and find him. He's literally inside the rock, but I suppose they don't know that, do they? Brilliant. I love it. I love the story.
They're going to kick themselves when they find him.
Oh, yeah, like, you.
I thought you said you checked in the...
It's been in the cupboard. What? Crazy. Yeah. So,
I have heard rumours they're going to do the same with the traitor Primarch, I think, as well.
Ferrus Manus is dead. Yes, he was beheaded, wasn't he, by Fulgrim, as far as I remember to the stories. But there was a rumour that I'd picked up on somewhere along the line where there is a story loophole, possibly, that he could be brought back. Luke's, but I would like to see the clone version of Fulgrim to ban the Necron Pokemon collected. Got him. Oh, okay, cool. Killed by Fulgrim on Isfan 5. Yeah, cool. I don't like Fulgrim. I think, he's a bit poncy for my liking. Don't really like him. I like the idea. I like the concept of Space Marines who seek perfection through their actions. And I've been reading the trilogy, the opening trilogy for the Horus Heresy books. They're fabulous. I think they're brilliant. I just don't like them. But Sanguinius, it rocks. I mean, like, he is awesome. It's a shame he gets killed.
I also like that everyone just turned a blind eye on his huge mutation just because he was a cool dude and everyone liked him.
Yeah.
He's got massive wings. Yeah, he's a cool dude, isn't
he? In the opening trilogy, there's Horus Rising is the first book that you really should read if you want to get started in it, and then they can kind of go off in any way you want to. But there's the opening trilogy by Dan Abnett. They're really good books. It has Horus, who before his fall is like the ultimate nice guy. He is like the first of them all, and he is loved above all others. And him and Sanguinius feature in that book. I think is it that book or is it the second one? I think it is the first one. And they're just so cool, and they're like bros, and they're like pally, and everyone loves them, and they're just, I'm not worthy, you're worthy, come and have a beer or whatever. And you're like, these guys are awesome. And Sanguinius does have like 18 feet angel wings, and mutations in the Imperium are not okay in the slightest, but no one cares because he's a dude. It's brilliant. I love it. It's such a brilliant. I was there the day the Emperor died. If you get the chance and you want to have a new book, even if you're not into 40k, especially the Dan Abnett books, those the Horus Rising trilogy, they're really good, and they give you
interesting sort of peek into the Space Marine world that isn't what 40k players are used to, because Chaos isn't a thing yet. It's really cool. Anyway, that's enough about books, because this isn't a book club, this is a painting club. Here is my Biovore. He is still not painted yet, which is a real shame, but I will get him done, and then I'm going to put him on the base. I'm going to do like a Cracked Earth scheme on there as well. I've got a lot of blank canvas space to kind of do something with, but it is because he's so low to the ground, he occupies a lot of it, so I think here less is more. I'll do a little bit of Cracked Earth, might put a few rocks down, and I might just call it a day with that. And then yeah, I'll have a unit with another unit. This guy is, yeah, the oil paint's going to take a long time to dry on this thing, I think. But when he is dry, Kyle, if you want, I'll send him down to you. I'll stick him in a jiffy bag, and you can have him, and you can have a good old look at him. But you might decide to buy paints before you receive him. But yep, you can have him.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it depends how long my interest will take.
yeah, sure. Hopefully, man, you'll have them for the next show. Anyway, it's been a really interesting and a really fun first show of the year. I hope that all of you have a really, really good 2021, because 2020 just sucked so much. So from me, and also from Kyle, I hope that 2021 brings you everything that you want. I hope it brings you all the happiness and, you know, kindness, whatever, all your way. Until next week, I've been Danny, he's been Kyle. I pointed the right direction this time. Yes. Happy New Year. And yeah, keep painting, get your armies out, let's paint them, slap some paint on it.
Next week.
I still haven't got a sign off yet, so if you could think of one, let's have one. Slap some paint on it, paint your grey armies, let's get painting, whatever you want it to be, as long as it's not rude, crude or awful, let's have it. So yeah, bye from me, bye from him. I'll see you next week. Take care, see you soon.
Guys. Bye.
Take care now, bye bye.